Welcome back, Verse, to another video. That's right, today is another movie review, and today we are reviewing Fantastic Four: First Steps. And again, when you do a review or discussion about this Fantastic Four, you have to do that soundtrack, okay? It's just part of it. It's a lot of fun. Regardless, Verse, yes, I went to go see this film last night with a friend of mine. I went over there to the Regal Theater, love the Regal Theater, and I got to give me this popcorn bucket of the Fantastic Four, and they had these 4 cups of the Fantastic Four ones. They had obviously Sue Storm, they had Reed Richards, the Human Torch, the Thing, and I got me Sue Storm. The other ones I was kind of like I was gonna get more. I really wanted to get that Galactus one, but wow, was that expensive. It was like, I've been told it's like close to $100, and it's huge, like really huge. I was considering it, but I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get that right now, so that's kind of later. But regardless though, I got to see the film, and I saw it
in Screen X.
Not 4DX, but in Screen X. So me and my friend got the wide version. We saw it at around 8 o'clock last night. And honestly, we had a good time going to the film. It's just the result for me personally, I will say, just isn't as high as others would say. I think my friend enjoyed the film much more than I did, only because of the fact that, for one, he likes Marvel. He loves Marvel. So honestly, he's more of a Marvel fan than I am. And despite me being a DC fan or anything like that, I'm gonna give you guys a fair review of this film. I treat every film fair. I'm going to start off with positives and negatives, and of course this is the non-spoiler review, so there is no spoilers in here. There are things that I genuinely do want to talk about that I will do in my spoiler discussion video, so just look out for that. But now, going into the film, Fantastic Four: First Steps is directed by Matt Shakman and is about an hour and 55 minutes, so that's really not too bad of a runtime. And when watching the film, Verse, I will say it is directed very well. The pacing works very well. Not once did it felt like it dragged on, and not once did it really felt like it was being rushed and everything. There are story-wise scenes in the film where I was kind of like, I felt like that could have used a little bit more time to develop. But I'm going to start off with the positives and then get more in the negatives. So the positives, I think every actor in the film does a great job performing as their character, okay? Everyone that's involved in the Fantastic Four, Galactus, you know, the Silver Surfer, side characters, like everyone does a great job portraying these characters to the best of their ability. I say that for a reason. I have to get into later. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. Pedro Pascal is a great actor, clearly, okay? He's in freaking everything. There's like 3 films out right now that have Pedro Pascal in it, okay? So you can't get away from this guy even if you wanted to. But as the character of Reed Richards, for those of you that don't know, he wasn't the first choice to play this character, and I could see why. And he does a good job with it. But me, personally, I don't see Reed Richards. I just see Pedro Pascal. But despite that though, which I'll go into later, I think he does a great job with the material that he's given. He is a great actor, so I'm not going to be like, oh, it's Pedro Pascal, so because of that his performance was terrible. No. Vanessa Kirby as the Invisible Woman. Honestly, I think she did a great job as Sue Storm. She really acted as a character. Her character was involved in a lot. Her abilities were really interesting here. I've never seen the Invisible Woman's abilities crafted in such a way in a real life film as we've seen from the other ones. I mean, you could argue that the early 2000s was one thing, sure, but I mean, here in a more serious tone, I think Sue Storm most certainly had a lot more to do here. She was very helpful. She wasn't whining. You know, her character is involved a lot, which is great. When it comes down to other things I can't mention here, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. I'm trying to be positive here. I'll say this. Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch. You're either going to like him or you're going to hate him. For me, he does a great job performance-wise. He can come off as the Human Torch, but for me personally, I didn't buy him as Johnny Storm. He did not work for me as the character. It's not his performance, it's just I didn't really see Johnny Storm in this film. I can't talk about that now. Regardless, he portrays the character fine. I think he does a good job of what he's given. But for me personally, I did not like Johnny Storm in this film. I actually have to type this up. Eban Massabark, I'm sorry, I probably butchered the name. But the actor who plays Ben Grimm, I'm going to be honest with you right off the bat. The Thing I thought was going to be the weakest part of the film turned out to be the best part of the film. Ben Grimm had the most personality out of all the members in the Fantastic Four. Out of everyone in the entire film. Whenever Ben Grimm is on screen, you want to see more of his character. He was done perfect here. I really like this actor too because for one, his voice just works for the Thing. His persona, his characteristics just work for this character. It really does. Especially because I like the actor mainly because he's based off that show on FX, The Bear. That show about cooking and the intensity of it. Oh god, I love that show. I love The Bear. So I think that him being as the Thing, and then how there were scenes where he's in the kitchen and testing like food and stuff like that, I was like, man, this guy just can't seem to get away from like a scene that involves the kitchen, huh? So it was pretty cool to be able to see him here as the Thing. I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, where have I heard that voice before? I was like, I know I've heard him somewhere. Where have I heard him? He's from The Bear. I was like, oh, okay. Great actor, by the way. Did a fantastic job as the Thing, as Ben Grimm. And honestly, I can't wait to see him portray the Thing even further, whether it's in Doomsday or in Secret Wars or in the next sequel of the Fantastic Four. I think he's going to really go places with this character, so I'm looking forward to that. Julia Gardner as the Silver Surfer. So look, this is me, right? When I found out that they were doing the female Silver Surfer, at first I was like, why? Why not do the male Silver Surfer? Everybody was waiting for Silver Surfer to come at some point, and when you finally announced it, people were excited, but then people were really upset because it was a female version. When I reacted to the trailer, I was reacting to it with a friend of mine, and I literally was like, oh great, so they gender bended the female Silver Surfer. Why is she female? I didn't understand that. And then I ended up getting some responses that, oh no, turns out that there's a female version in the comic. I'm like, oh yeah, the comic that got canceled? Right. Silly me. Yeah, I can see why they brought her here. No. The good news is that I'll say is that they actually brought the female Silver Surfer because she actually has some importance in the script. It took me a minute to really buy into it, but regardless, her performance was fine. She had a lot to do. If anything, the Silver Surfer actually had a lot of really good scenes in the film. Her, as well as, I'll even say, the Human Torch. I'll put it that way. And I think that Julia Garner does a great job with the material given here, and I think that her portrayal as the Silver Surfer needed just a little bit more time. It needed a little bit more. Ralph Nielsen, I hope I said his name correctly, as Galactus. Man, I will say this. The look of Galactus in this film, they got down right. The intensity of Galactus, they got down right. Visually, he looked amazing, Galactus. And the best part is when he speaks, he had that voice. When he was speaking, it just worked for the character. So I'm really glad that for Galactus, they did not mess him up entirely. I'm gonna get into that more in the spoilers. But Galactus in general, as the character, they did a great job. The action scenes now in the film, they're fine. Not that many though, if I'm being honest with you. There's not too many scenes of action going on here in the film. It's mainly a lot of dialogue heavy scenes that involve a lot about the importance of family, and there's really nothing wrong with that. It's a message that's basically trying to show you the importance of loving one another and caring about one another and the length of what a family will go to protect one another, right? And that's great. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with that message in the film. There are times in the film where they had moments where it's really gonna get you. I'll give the film that. It really does work for when it comes down to really trying to give you a moment to either try to be relatable or just to get you feeling for the characters, and it's there. So intensity in the film definitely does come across. The writing in the film, I would say it's fine. You know, there are some scenes in the film where I was just like, that really could have been improved, but okay. There are 2 end screen credit scenes. You only need to stay around for one of them. The other one is just for fun. When it comes down to the sound effects in the film, I really want to talk about this. The sound effects in the film is really well done, especially for Ben Grimm, because since he's a rock, right? He's just this walking, talking, live rock. Every time when he makes like a face reaction or like when he moves, like you could just hear like the rock just like crumbling against each other a little bit. Like it works really well with the sound here. Visually, the visuals here were fine, right? They were polished, they were clean. Obviously, it's green screen, but like it wasn't to a point where you're like, wow, that's some heavy CGI. It didn't feel like that at all. Other than that though, time for some negatives about the film. So, the casting. Right off the bat, I'm going to be real with you. There are 2 members of the Fantastic Four that I just did not like as the characters. I did not like Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, as I've said. I feel like this was a bit of a miscast for me, and in the exact same time, it's not necessarily the film's fault. For those of you that don't know, the lead character of Reed Richards, the script, was offered to 3 other actors before Pedro Pascal came along. They all said No. They said they do not want to do it for whatever the reason, so they kept moving it along. Even the casting director literally came out and said that out of everyone, Reed Richards was the hardest person to cast in this film. And they ended up getting Pedro Pascal. And don't get me wrong, great actor. As I said earlier, he's in everything. But unfortunately for me, the character didn't necessarily work, not because of his performance or because of how he was written, but because mainly for me, I just see Pedro Pascal. For those of you that don't know, there was a lot of drama going around with Pedro Pascal about two things: his politics and, most importantly, his look. The film, the producers and directors came out, even Kevin Feige, I believe, made a statement where they were literally trying to have Pedro Pascal shave his mustache, and he made such a big deal about it that he didn't want to do it because for some reason he feels very insecure without it or something. And I'm like, dude, but you're an actor. Actors have to portray characters all the time, right? They adjust their looks all the time. They shave their heads, they grow out their hair, they gain weight, they lose weight, they gain muscle, they don't gain muscle, you know what I mean? They work on an accent, they do a bunch of stuff to try to get the character down right, but for some reason he didn't want to do it, and I think that was just really unnecessary for him to do that. And then also, this whole thing with his politics, people were getting really upset because he was talking about all these things that were going on with the script, and now they took certain things out. The film went through quite a few reshoots, I found out last minute. For those of you that don't know, there was a secret screening in the studio, and when they were watching it, they didn't get a lot of good reactions to the script. I could see why. Apparently, there was a lot of political identity politics in it. There was this whole thing about Sue Storm supposedly being involved in politics, and she does a lot of this whole thing of gender politics, and I was like, oh god. I was like, really? They're gonna do that? And then it seems like from the reshoots, they took it out. Like, she's involved in politics in the film, but luckily it's not about that, so that's good. So they don't really do anything like that in your face. I will say though, I think Pedro Pascal, to a degree, did hurt this film as it was being promoted. I'm here thinking to myself, dude, did you learn nothing from Rachel Zegler? That's like the biggest example for any actor as, hey, keep your politics and your mouth shut when it comes down to promoting a film. Nobody wants to hear it if it has nothing to do with those things, okay? It's just common sense. But for some reason, Petro's like, oh no, or my voice needs to be heard. We must see this. This needs to be put back in the film because it gives a message. And I'm like, dude, did you not learn anything from Snow White? I'm like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? People are tired of hearing this shit. So the fact that Pedro really kept opening his mouth and they were trying to get him to be quiet was really a damage to the film. Luckily, I think it's gonna do fine. I don't think it was that bad compared to Snow White. Snow White was like 4 times worse. But I think the film is gonna still be successful. So I will give it that. My second issue that I have with the casting was Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. I did not see this actor as Johnny Storm. I just did not believe it. Even in the trailers, I was listening and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to say anything too early on, mainly just because of the fact that it's just the trailers. So at the end of the day, I need to see more to really give a fair review. I got more, and I still didn't like what I got. I did not like Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. It's not his fault. I just think that he was also a miscast for this character. Some people might disagree, and if you do, that's totally fine. But for me personally, as Johnny Storm, I needed someone with a lot more personality for Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm is like a straight hothead, right? He's really like over the top sometimes. He's a straight up ladies man. He's all this other stuff. And here, you really don't get that. It's implied. I will say that in the film. It's implied that he's a ladies man, but you don't really see him be a ladies man, okay? There's a difference. So there's people online that are like, what are you talking about? Like, Johnny Storm is still a ladies man in this film. Where? I was like, where? He only talks about one chick throughout the whole film, and I'll talk about that later in the spoiler discussion, but that's it. I've never seen him once imply that. If anything, he kind of gave even reactions where it didn't even come off that way, so I don't know what the hell they were coming off with that. Those two were the biggest miscast for me in the whole entire film. You know, they did a good job, but I could see why you guys had a hard time casting people in this film that I will go into in the spoiler discussion. But it's still passable, though, I would say that. Galactus. I will say, he was a great addition to the film, but where I had problems with Galactus is that I felt like they could have done more with Galactus, okay? I'm trying to be very careful because I can't say what I want to say in this video, damn it. I want to say a lot more, but I can't. So just know, Galactus, I also have issues with in the film that I will talk about later. When it comes down to the action, as I said, it's not that much, and that's really unfortunate because I felt like there could have been more. It's really revolting on character development, which is there, but even that is also an issue issue at times, if I'm being honest with you. So I do feel like it could have used a lot more. Other than that though, Verse, I mean, the film is enjoyable. If you don't know anything about the comics and you just want to go and see this film just because it's a Marvel film, or because, you know, it's just a Fantastic Four and you know you're having a fun time, I think you will enjoy this film. Absolutely. But if you're like a comic guy, and if you know these characters and you were expecting just a little bit more, you're gonna leave disappointed. I left disappointed. I genuinely did. When I left the film, I was like, this was it? That was my reaction. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it. We were just really like going back and forth talking about this film. And I had a score that I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe I'm being a little too harsh on the film, but it's really not that great for me either. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this film my final verdict, a 7 out of 10. It is a great film. You are watching the film, you are enjoying it. This is by far the best Fantastic Four adaptation of all the Fantastic Four movies, okay? This is better than the early 2000s. This is 100 times better than Fan Four Stick, okay? Remember that shit show? Oh my gosh. This is way, way better. So don't get me wrong. I have issues with the film personally, but it's not awful. I think it's passable. It's a lot better than any of the other previous films that we gotten from Marvel recently, if I'm being honest with you. And the best part about this film that I will also say that I like is that it doesn't feel like homework. You don't have to watch the Marvel shows to be able to know what's going on here. I know a lot of people have been complaining about that because they all said that it feels kind of a chore to watch these films now, because now that they're adding the shows to the films, you have to like really keep up with everything to know what's going on. I haven't seen a Marvel show in I don't know how long. Okay, that's how much I couldn't care less about the shows because they've gotten so bad. And now with this movie, you don't really need to watch anything previously to know who the Fantastic Four are, which is appreciated, Marvel. Thank you. We don't need no more of that. And what's even really great about the film is that they don't really focus on anything that's going to happen later until the very end of the film, which is appreciated. Focus on the now, worry about later. But with that said though, Verse, that is my non-spoiler review. I will be making a spoiler discussion, so if you want to know more about what it is that I'm talking about, please look out for my next video that I'll go into more depth of. But if I'm being honest with you, even though I gave Superman a 7 out of 10, I do enjoy Superman a lot more than this, simply because of the fact that that film has more personality than this. Sorry. But regardless of that though, Verse, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like what you saw, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification for more content as always. Look forward to the next video, Verse, and with that said, I'll see you next time. Later, Verse.